Abortion. In this video, I'll talk about the reasons that abortion should be legal, or the pro-choice perspective, the reasons abortion should be illegal, or the pro-life perspective. I'll compare the two in a little summary, and then finally I'll give my opinion and particularly a bit about consistency and what I think about it. So here are the pros, or why abortion should be legal. Why abortion should be legal. The right to make medical decisions about your body is a basic human right. That's a fact. Personhood begins at birth. This is obviously subject to change, and somewhat of an opinion question, but right now, personhood begins at birth legally. If you think it should change, that's an opinion. The fetus does not suffer. During modern, humane abortion practices, the fetus is not going through any pain at all. They're not even aware of what's going on. You could say that abortion does not harm the fetus physically. Legal abortion prevents unsafe backyard abortions, which may or may not cause pain, both to the fetus and the pregnant woman, who have much higher rates of complications and even death. Modern medical procedures are safe and carry low risk of complication. I kind of just said that. There are cases that necessitate abortion. I think we're all creative enough to think of a situation that we would consider abortion to be appropriate in. That's all that it takes. If you agree that abortion can be required, then you believe that there are cases that necessitate abortion. We do not punish women for sex. We live in a society where sex is allowed, it is legal, and it is perfectly acceptable. If you don't accept certain behaviors when it comes to sex, such as, I won't give examples, but whatever your beliefs are, they are not laws, they are beliefs. Unwanted children should not be abandoned. There are plenty of reasons not to put your children for adoption, and it should not be the go-to solution without education about the adoption system wherever you may be. And then overpopulation is a huge issue in our country, in our world. It is just so prevalent. And bringing more children into the world obviously has to do with overpopulation. Now, cons. The reason that abortion should be illegal. A fetus should have the right to live. There are many who believe this. Currently, it does not have the right to live, but that could change, and we should seriously consider changing it. Contraception is preferable. Abortion is not an ideal situation for anyone involved. If you can prevent a pregnancy, you should. However, that is a belief. That is my belief, personally. And it's not the law. No one is required to take contraception. No one can be required to take contraception. And unfortunately, this causes unwanted pregnancies. Abortion can harm a woman psychologically. There are many examples of this occurring, and it can have devastating effects on a woman. Abortion causes loss of potential. Yeah, a fetus, an unborn fetus, has extreme potential. Potential is almost infinite. There's no telling what that person could have done, hypothetically, in their life. And abortion goes against many religions. Though I understand that this is not a legal or secular or acceptable reason to oppose abortion, I think most of us agree with the separation of church and state. If you don't, then that's your argument. But right now, we do not live in a religious society governed by religion. Therefore, it goes against many religions is kind of irrelevant, though I understand that it hurts people to see something that goes against their religion happening in their society. Here's my summary of the pro-choice and pro-life perspectives. Pro-choice, and I've shortened the list, obviously. The pro-choice perspective is that the right to make medical decisions about your own body is a basic human right and should be protected, obviously. Modern medical procedures are safe and humane, meaning that the fetus feels no pain during the procedure, and there's a very small risk, almost negligible, of harm to the woman. And overpopulation, I find this to be a strong reason to not feel the need to save every possible life. We have a surplus of living people. There's no necessity to keep that potential that I was talking about earlier in the pro-life perspective. We have met, or maybe not met, but we have access to lots of potential. And we don't need to increase the numbers that we already have. They're too astronomical as it is. Anyway, pro-life perspective is that a fetus should have the right to live. A fetus is a stage in development that pro-life people believe should not be discriminated against. And I don't disagree. I would have no problem with giving a fetus the right to live. It's absolutely believe we should consider it and maybe even go through with it. Contraception is preferable. I talked about that. And women suffer after having an abortion. I gave 3 reasons to each perspective. I find them pretty balanced, and all the reasons are reasonable. You can't deny that. Here's my opinion, and I've narrowed it down to 1 reason per perspective. The pro-choice perspective is based on defending the right to make medical decisions about your own body. And the pro-life perspective is centered around defending the fact that a fetus should have the right to live. Currently it doesn't. I'm sure they're working hard to make sure that it does. And going ahead of themselves to defend that right before it's even there. These are the 2 rights that are in conflict in this controversial issue, and they are the ones that are the reason for the issue. I have videos about human rights. It's a 3-part series, starting with basic human rights, just explaining what they are, and then I go to limited human rights, what categories of people, and sometimes non-people, have partial rights. They have some rights and then not others. And then my 3rd video is when human rights collide. And this is the video that takes prevalence in this issue. These are 2 human rights and they are colliding. And what do we do when we have 2 human rights that are in conflict? How do we choose one over the other? My other video explains that I give a higher priority to the right to bodily autonomy over life. The reason is because there are much worse fates than death, particularly a humane death. And I don't have problems with a humane death. I don't have any qualms about it. I do have problems with violating the right to your body. I have severe problems when someone tries to violate your body. This includes rape, molestation, assault. There are so many different ways that you can harm someone, not just kill them, but cause them to suffer. This is why I prioritize bodily autonomy is much more important to defend, in my opinion, than the right to live. Here, I mentioned consistency. I was going to talk about it. In every plausible example where these two basic human rights come into conflict, the right to bodily autonomy is given priority. As I said, I agree with this. This is the way I think our society should be run, and currently is. If you believe the right to live is more important, first of all, I respect that. But then in order to be consistent, you must believe that we have the right to violate a person's body in every circumstance where a life is at stake. I don't agree with that. I don't think we should have the right to violate a person's body when a life is at stake. I don't think that justifies it. But if you do, then you should understand that that is what your pro-life perspective is saying. If you do not believe that we have the right to violate a person's body to save lives in any circumstance, whether it be organ donating or tissue such as blood, whether it be taking parts from a dead body, violating funerals and, closure for families, violating there's so many ways to do it. Anyway, if you do not believe that we have the right to violate a person's body to save lives in any circumstance, if you can imagine a circumstance where that would not be okay, then you do not believe in consistency if you have the pro-life perspective. I do not believe our laws or ethics should be inconsistent. But if you find yourself being inconsistent, you should think about whether inconsistency is okay to have in our society. I don't think it is. I think we should be consistent. But if you think that we should make exceptions, then not only do you have to defend why we should make exceptions, but then you have made our society much more complex and complicated and confusing. Because then we have to determine, well, how do we make exceptions? And why can we make exceptions in this case and not another? Why can I not abort a fetus, but if my child needs my blood, I can refuse to let you take it from me? Just think about it, and let me know what you come up with in the comments below. Thank you.